Good day, everyone. My name is Hanilu Mora, and I will be discussing to you the feminist theory. So, first, let's define or let me provide you the salient features of feminist theory. Feminist theory addresses specific issues and ways of understanding women, so it focuses on women. However, the principles and approaches also apply to men and children. Next, it seeks to explain the differences between men and women. And then next, it aimed to increase consciousness of the oppression of women and in turn provide avenues by which women can gain control of their lives. So it is said that feminism is particularly appropriate for social work as the majority of social workers are women, and women are often clients of the social services. So, the feminist social work have actually commonalities with their ideas. And what are these? Number one, to end patriarchy. When we say patriarchy, it is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Next is to empower women. Third, to view the person and environment. What is the relationship between the person and the environment? Next is to raise the consciousness of women and society as a whole in regard to the structural gender inequalities. So, what is feminism? To understand feminism, you have to know the difference between sex and gender. It is a common term for us, but sometimes we fail to differentiate between sex and gender. So, sex is used to refer to the biological differences between females and males. So, these are actually the biological features that we have, like, for example, our sex organs, penis and vagina, and then the X chromosome and Y chromosomes, and our internal organs. While gender is used to refer to the sociological differences, such as thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes about women and men, socially constructed and therefore varies from cultures and across time. So, as you can see, sex is something that is nature, while gender is something that is learned, acquired, or nurture. So, gender is actually the beliefs and ideas how women and men should be in a society. Another term to understand is gender roles. Gender roles are the roles assigned to and seen as appropriate for women and men that are created and reinforced by the dominant culture and society. So, for example, men are perceived to be or should be wearing blue colors. They should be the one working or earning the money. They should be the one getting the high paying jobs. While women are perceived to wear pink colors, they should be working at home, doing the household chores, and taking care of their children. They should look beautiful and sexy. So that's how gender roles is. So how feminism started? There are actually three waves of how the feminism started, but there is an additional fourth wave which includes the current years or the present. Wave 1 started in the 19th and early 20th centuries. It deals with property rights and the right to vote because during these times women are not allowed to acquire property and they don't have the right to vote. The wave 2 started 1960s and 1970s. It focused on equality and anti-discrimination, established various women-centered organizations such as feminist health centers, sexual assault centers, domestic violence shelters, etc. And this wave is actually being pioneered by the American white women who belong to the middle class. Next is wave three. It actually promotes individual self expression and diversity. It is actually a backlash or a critique to the wave two because this one it promotes diversity, meaning whatever skin color that you have, black women, white women, or you may be belongs to the rich families or poor, it doesn't matter. So it is of different classes and statuses. Next is wave 4. This is from 2013 to present. It promotes intersectionality ideas wherein it's actually the same to wave 3 wherein it promotes diversity. Whatever your skin color, whatever your status in life, you may be rich or poor, you may be an immigrant or not. And then this is also, it also promotes the right to reproductive, and then the right to violence against women, especially sexual harassment. And then this is the strategic use of social media as tool of feminist education, outreach, and organizing. So there are variations of feminism. First is the liberal feminism. Women and men should have equal access to resources and opportunities, and men can be involved in supporting women in the fight for equal rights. So in liberal feminism, it is the idea of gender equality through social, political, and legal means. And in this concept, the men can support women. Next is radical feminism. It actively participates in changing social institutions and systems that lead to a patriarchy. So, as what I have explained before or earlier, patriarchy is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely included from it. So, women want to remove patriarchy. So, with that, it is less likely to believe that men can be supportive in women's fight for equal rights and the concept of radical feminism. The next is Marxist and socialist feminism. So, Marxist, when we say Marxist, it is related to the economic and the capitalism. So, the economic forms of power enable men to control women. So the idea is that dismantling capitalism and ending economic and cultural sources of oppression is a way to liberate women. So the Marxism feminism recognizes that women are oppressed and attributes the oppression to the capitalist private property system. Thus, they insist that the only way to end the oppression of women is to overthrow the capitalist system. Socialist feminism is the result of Marxism meeting radical feminism. So as you can see, Marxist feminism, social feminism, and radical feminism are interrelated. Next is cultural feminism. It points out how modern society is hurt by encouraging masculine behavior, but society would benefit by encouraging feminine behavior, thus creating women culture. So it is the concept of replacing the dominant masculine behavior with the feminine behavior, because women believe that the society would be better or would be in a good situation if it's being dominated by the feminine or women behavior. Black feminism. So it is actually the wave three, wherein it is actually the critique or the backlash of the wave two, wherein it was being pioneered by the American white women and middle class. So Black feminism promotes the right of women in different classes and different races. So whatever your color, whatever your status in life. So there are ideas in feminist theory that we have to understand. It is said that traditional theories and methods that guided social work practice were predominantly created by men and based on the life experiences, development, views, and needs of men, yet were presumed to be gender neutral. So, as you can see, we have learned already a lot of theories, like, for example, the Freudian theory, Carl Jung, Adler's, Carl Rogers, who are men, right? And most of their theories are actually based on their life experiences, and it views the needs of men. So, with the emergence of the feminist movement, theorists began to examine how women differed from men in development and life experiences, and took these differences into account when practicing social work. So, one example that I can give is the theory of Karen Horney. She is actually considered one of the pioneer of having the theory that has the concept of feminism. So there are actually gender differences and in different categories based on our life stages. The first one is childhood. So gender differences begin to emerge at birth, where the assignment of pink clothes to girl clothes and blue clothes for boys. Little girls are supposed to play with dolls and wear dresses, and the boys are to play with trucks and cars and get their clothes dirty. Next is adolescence. When puberty occurs, which can cause female additional stress with the societal expectations of the female body as thin and physically attractive. Males may also experience pressure to be tough and have a strong masculine appearance. Next is adulthood. The role of motherhood, which not only means experiencing pregnancy, but also having to face decisions of work and caretaking responsibilities. As workforce, women are continually paid less than men and are more likely to experience discrimination and sexual harassment. So, having learned this category gender differences, learning about these differences, as a social worker, you have to acknowledge the need to tailor interventions to the specific needs of women, which are different from men. So, you as a social worker, knowing about the challenges experienced by women in a socially constructed society, you have to do something about it. You have to meet the needs of your client or the individual and the environment. So, feminist social work is a form of social work practice that takes women's experience of the world as the starting point of its analysis, and by focusing on the links between a woman's position in society and her individual predicament, responds to her specific needs, creates egalitarian, which is the principle that all people are equal, and then relations in client worker interactions, and addresses structural inequalities. So, there are actually feminist or different feminist theories. The first one is gender schema theory. It examines how society influences individuals to view gender in a specific way based on the established roles and norms attached to the gender type. So, children are conditioned to learn from society what is the definition and roles of female and male. So, for example, as a child, we are made to believe that a doctor should be a male and the nurse should be a female. So, it is being shaped from us. Next is the relational cultural model. Women's growth and development occurs out of the connections and relationships that women have in their lives that consist of mutual empathy and mutual empowerment. A woman's sense of identity and self worth is based on the types of relationships that she encompasses. So, meaning, relationship serves as the strength of women. Of course, negative environment will affect her being a person. She will become detached and loses self-worth. But if she has a positive environment, she will be doing good or she will do well. There are feminist methods or approaches to social work practice. Number one is symptom removal. It is a practice with women wherein there should involve addressing both the symptoms of a problem as well as the problem itself. Meaning, when you help a depressed person, you will not only cure the symptoms by giving her medicines, but you should focus on the symptoms and the causes of the depression. Next is self-esteem and body image and sensuality. Practice with women should focus on creating a positive self-esteem and body image that comes from within the woman and is not based on the views and perception of others. Next is quality of interpersonal relationships. In adhering to the relational cultural theory, practice with women should focus on creating more direct and assertive relationships that foster mutual empathy and empowerment versus a relationship that fosters dependency or control. So you should be promoting empowerment of the women, not dependency or control. Next is attention to diversity. Practice with women should consider the cultural differences that can shape women's view of themselves and the goals they establish for themselves. Political awareness and social action. Both social worker and women should raise their consciousness to the discrimination and oppression that women experience from society and should work together to change this social standard. So you as a social worker and your client should work together. So feminist social work practice seeks to empower a woman within a gender oppressive environment by focusing on the woman's desires and goals for herself. This should result in the woman accepting herself versus allowing others to dictate what she should be and the challenging the environment that is prohibiting the woman from reaching her full potential. So there are feminist methods or approaches to social work practice. Oh yeah, the last one is the political awareness and social action, wherein both social worker and woman should raise their consciousness to the discrimination and oppression that women experience from society and should work together to change these social standards. So feminist theory techniques there are techniques to reach the goal of having an environment where women and men have relationships and rights that are equal. First is the gender role analysis. This technique involves the social worker and woman identifying a situation where the woman has experienced a clear gender role message. So, analyzing the gender role message, what would be its effect to the person? So, you will make the negative statement to positive. For example, our situation is working mom are selfish for not staying with their children. So, what would be the negative effect to the mother? She will feel guilty that she was not able to provide enough love and care to her children. So, you as a social worker, how you are going to change that to positive? So, you will tell your client that what is your evidence that you are not providing enough care and love? If you are not going to work, your children will starve and you cannot provide their needs. So that's how you are going to use it. Next is gender role intervention. Conscious raising, where the social work provides information related to the gender role messages that can assess the woman in reframing the socially constructed gender role stereotype into something more positive. So, giving the person the fact, information, education about gender roles. and making her understand that those are normal, the negative things in the society, but you have to let the person know that it is not true at all. So, like for example, in our previous situation, you can actually tell your client that, you know what, you are not alone, or you're not the only working mom here in the Philippines. And do you know that there are actually 50% of women who are working in the country? So it's something like that. Next is power analysis and intervention. The woman identifies a situation where there is a power difference, and then discuss ways in which power and power strategies can be used to bring about change. So, it's actually how power differs from men to women in terms of financial, physical, employment, and how it affects you being a woman. And then you have to do something to change it. So it's like on the previous situation that we have, you can explain the client that, you know what, if you are being discriminated at work, you can actually file a case. Okay, next is assertiveness training. It involves the social worker and woman discussing and practicing assertiveness skills. So you have to be assertive. You have to stand for your right without violating the rights of others. Next is reframing. It involves rephrasing a negatively loaded word, phrase, or situation into a word, phrase, or situation that is more positive and acceptable to the woman. So you will tell her that you are working to provide good life for your children. Those women who are staying at home, they will find ways to justify their pagiging tambay, and you have also your reasons. So who are they to explain for your own reasons, right? Okay, so last concept is that it's the relation of feminist theory and men. So, feminist social work practice is not just for women, it can also be used with men. Men can also experience negative consequences due to societal expectations of their gender role. So, that's all, classmates and teacher. Thank you so much.